And hopefully we've kind of dispelled a few myths and rumors, at the same time asking more questions. Maybe need to dig a little deeper into what we all do.
Yeah.
Might help.
You know, and if we've been here going on 7-8 hours, seems like it really don't seem that long because it's been so interesting. But you know, we looked at the entire Flyway habitat wide, and in Louisiana, rice acreage is going down, crawfish is going up, and I think the numbers probably, to me, were shocking. And I live here, and I'm in the farming industry with Grosse Savanne and all of what we do, and I didn't believe the numbers. I had to look at them twice. But when you look at what's going on with that, coastal erosion loss, and then wealth of issues in the mid-continent region, you saw there's still issues in the prairie. As much as we think we've done good over the years to conserve, there's still issues there. And we brought in some political issues that you wouldn't even think would affect a duck, but yet we talk about our economic drivers and why things are changing. There's just so much going on. And then, you know, who would have thought about the spinning wing decoy? I mean, it's definitely something to think about, and the data really is interesting to look at. And then you also made a point, and Larry even, I haven't heard this, and I'm gonna get you maybe to say it again, but we kept talking about short stopping ducks and these ducks not moving down, but if I heard you right, this is happening in the whole North American or the Northern Hemisphere. Is that what you said? I mean,
correct.
There's issues going on in Sweden that are very similar to what's happening here, and yet there's no corn in Sweden. I would think that short stopping birds in Sweden, is that? I mean, I don't want to be, but if I had no clue that this could be a global thing that's going on.
Well, and that's
kind of blows all our theories out of the water. We all have our thoughts of why the ducks aren't coming, but when you start, and you've mentioned cases where in the Atlantic Flyway with some other ducks, the same things are happening that's happening in the Flyway. That's a big deal.
But we're living it. We're living it here. Look at the black-bellied whistling ducks and the white-winged doves. Go back 30 years and tell me what you were seeing for black-bellied whistling ducks and white-winged doves here at Grosse Savanne. They were not here. Things are changing, and I guarantee you that Ducks Unlimited or any kind of management is not happening to influence black-bellied whistling ducks and white-winged doves. And the fact that it's occurring in other places in the world, I first heard it was actually at the 2012 Duck Symposium in Memphis, where a professor from Southern Illinois said, look, birds are wintering further north, everywhere in the Northern Hemisphere, and so we're getting a clue that it is a large ecological phenomenon. Climate change, advancements in agriculture, things that are happening around the world. And so those are really big things that maybe we don't have much control over. And one of the big benefits that I hope a forum like this does is expands the perspective of everybody out there. Mickey opened this forum with the fact that this is an international resource, that we have to manage it continentally, and there are a lot of things. One of our issues at the Mississippi Flyway meeting, where Mickey put together this presentation from data from a lot of people, was that whenever there is a shift in distribution, there are winners and losers. Okay? We had difficulty getting the northern states to engage in this discussion at the Flyway. Why? Because it doesn't really influence them at this point. If the birds are short stopping, they're staying with them. But they didn't kill any ducks last year either. They complained about their poor hunting success. And their hunting, there were issues. There is this annual variation within the long-term trends that are happening that make things pretty complicated. And so when you ask the question, because you asked the right question, what are we going to do about it? Do about what? We're not killing enough ducks to keep us happy. We're not killing enough ducks. How do we kill more ducks so that our hunters are happy? Well, how do we do that? I mean, how do we do that? We have to maintain our habitat, which we are not doing. We have to think about our hunting pressure and how we might manage the habitat that we do have. And at least from Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, that's not happening. We have eliminated refuge habitat on our WMAs. We have expanded hunting opportunity on our WMAs. We have opened up more areas on our WMAs because that's what we're supposed to do, right? Since the 2012 revision of the North American Waterfowl Management Plan to include people, you got your waterfowl program manager asking hunters every 5 years, what do they want? And we know what they want. More dead ducks. We asked a question that said, if it was proven that a daily bag limit of 6 ducks was detrimental to the duck population, what do you think an alternative daily bag limit should be? Over 50%, I don't know the number, said 6. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with. Duck hunters out there need some perspective. They need some perspective about how many ducks they kill, about the distribution of ducks in the Flyway. Someone else made the point about how do we maintain this fetish for stability? How do we maintain this distribution of harvest within the Flyway? We have to realize that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and I think we established that they're the ones with the authority, they don't care. They have no control, just like we have no control over climate and land use. They have no control over where the wetlands are going to be, where the hunters are going to be, and what the weather's going to be. So they have no control where those ducks are going to end up and where they're going to be killed. A dead mallard in Louisiana is no different than a dead mallard in Missouri when you are managing the population as one. And that was built in to our harvest management system because the Fish and Wildlife Service they have no control over that. And I can tell you, when I was doing my master's work at Texas A&M was the time that the population was crashing. It was before we went to 30-day seasons with 3 duck limits. And there was discussion in the Flyway about, look, if we're going to impact the duck population with hunting restrictions, all we really have to do is reduce opportunity in Arkansas and Louisiana. We don't have to screw with anybody else. You're laughing, Dave, because you were in on these conversations, weren't you? Because that's where all the ducks were being killed. And so we don't have to cut the pintail bag limit in the other 12 states. We only have to reduce pintail harvest in Louisiana and Arkansas to accomplish our goals. And what was the answer to that question? The answer to that question from the Fish and Wildlife Service was no. That's not our idea of fairness. I'm putting it into my words now, of course. But we don't have any control over this. Louisiana has the wetlands. Arkansas has the wetlands. That's where the ducks are. Every state in the Mississippi Flyway gets the same season length and the same bag limit. We're not going to consider separate regulations for different states because of the birds they kill. Our hunters need to understand that when birds are shifting in distribution such that maybe other states are killing more birds than they did in the past and we're killing fewer. Look, I want black desert from the Dakotas to Des Almonds. There needs to be no damn habitat in there. The ducks need to come to Louisiana where me and my hunters get to kill all we want. Okay? How you think that's going to fly?
Not very well.
It's not going to fly. And so I hope a forum like this, with the perspective that Mickey and Paul and Dave, have provided with the scientific work that they're doing, that the bluster that I add to the discussion with the human dimensions work I've done, I hope it gives our hunters a little perspective. Anecdotal story. We are doing a special issue of Louisiana Conservationist in the fall about the changing distributions of birds, how it affects our hunting. The lead story, the feature story, is written and I'm reviewing it. And the author of that story came into my office yesterday. And he said, Larry, he's not a duck hunter. He's a journalist. He said, Larry, something is dreadfully wrong. I've done something wrong. I've written this article with all of this negative stuff, that there are fewer mallards and fewer pintails coming here, that our harvest has declined, that our hunters are unhappy, that our habitat's in poor shape, and that birds are, mallards are no longer coming here in the same numbers. White geese are no longer coming here. The total number of ducks has declined in the last 25 years. But then I got this from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and it was the harvest data. And we killed 1.1 million ducks, higher than every state except for California. And we killed 23.1 ducks per hunter, higher than every state than California. And California has a 107-day season with a 7-bird bag. And they could only kill 23.2 while we killed 23.1. What am I doing wrong? This doesn't make sense. I've written an article completely contrary to the harvest data. And I went back and I showed him. I said, look, from 2010 until 2014, we killed 2.5 million ducks in Louisiana. Now we're killing 1.1. We were killing 30 birds per man. Now we're down to 23, and the years before we were 17 and 18. Our hunters are pissed off because they had 4 years at this harvest level that dropped down to this harvest level. They don't care that they're still killing more than the other states in the Mississippi Flyway. Their harvest has declined by 60% during this period of time. It all makes sense if you look back at the trends in the data that we have. Now, what's more important? What's more important? To our hunters? I guarantee you what's more important. We're killing 1.1 million ducks instead of 2.5. We're killing 23.1 instead of 30. That's what's important to us. But when you consider this resource on the Flyway level, what's more important to the governing and the objectives of harvest management in the Mississippi Flyway, what may be important at that scale is that we're still killing more ducks than the other states in the Flyway. And all of us need to have that perspective, because when you talk about how do we fix it, the first thing we have to define is what are we trying to accomplish. If we're trying to accomplish killing 2.5 million birds, the easiest way to fix it is to close the season in those other states. Not going to fly. So all I'm trying to do is, maybe in a whining way, put you in my shoes, in my office. I would love for everyone to spend 6 months in my office.
Not in the summer.
And to but I hope a forum like this provides some of that perspective. It certainly helped me get that off my chest.
No, and that's a great perspective.
So-
I'm glad you said it, because I've read it, and that's very true. Sometimes we just don't know how good we got it.
That's right.
So that's kind of the reason for the meeting, is the world is changing. Status quo is not very acceptable right now, and we can't pretend. It's no longer appropriate to pretend that things are not changing. and that it's always going to be good again, or it's going to be good again, or the world's going to be great and they're all going to come back to Louisiana, because they're probably not. Sorry, but that's just it.
Maybe this year. Maybe with the southern distribution of the water. Maybe with no corn.
Well, we're going to find out.
That's going to be interesting.
It's going to be one of the greatest natural experiments ever.
Yeah.
Although we had a matter population above the long-term average, they were older birds. You know, they were older ducks, and there was water everywhere. So,
Well, and if you look at the age ratio data in the harvest for the last 3 or 4 years, it's been in the tank. We have had poor reproductive success the last 3 or 4 years. So what happened this year is you've got an adult-heavy population coming down the Flyway during the 3rd wettest winter on record. So you've given an adult-heavy population all kinds of alternatives, and you're surprised why they've made a fool of you out there trying to chase them.
you're exactly right.
It was that kind of year, and that's why we're hearing complaints from Illinois, from Indiana, from Missouri, Arkansas and Louisiana for sure. Nobody was banging them up this year because there was water everywhere, and we had relatively poor reproductive success.
What you hear, I know you and her here, but to that point, I heard a lot of the snow goose guys talk. Drew, you'll be involved in this. Man, there's no jivvies this year. Snow geese had bad reproduction, no recruitment. Man, it's going to be a tough snow goose season. I never had none of my buddies say, man, Jimbo, mallards were down this year. We're going to have a tough year. Nobody said that on the front end, you know, but they talk about it about snow geese. So same thing, we're beating a dead horse, but hopefully that horse will be up and galloping this year, I hope.
Yeah.
Well, let me thank all of y'all again for coming. I know it was quite a chore. You came all the way from Missouri and drove 11 hours and fixing to head back, and you came from Canada, and couldn't thank y'all more. And Jimbo and all you guys, Paul, Larry, Kaysen, thank y'all again for coming. When we set this up, it was to present as much factual information as we could, and I think it was successful. I wanted to learn something personally. I wanted to learn something for our guides here at the lodge, and we wanted to present this information to the public just to get it out, to see what all's going on. And we've been here literally all day long discussing the issues, and I think we've only scraped the surface of what all they were. But there's been some really good information put out. Some of it's been tough to swallow. You know, Grosse Savanne's on the Gulf Coast right here. We're at the bottom of the Flyway. We're the end. And it's kind of frightening to know that we're going to be the first to reap the repercussions of what's going on, good or bad. You know, it is what it is. And so don't know if we can control some of it. We've had some great ideas, but nevertheless, after this event, at least we know a little bit more what's going on and have a little bit more understanding. And we know with telemetry, there's some great things we can get behind and try to get you some more information out there to help us make some better decisions on seasons and that kind of stuff. So I think it's been an awesome day. Couldn't thank you guys enough again. Hopefully, maybe we can do this again next year, because this seems to be an evolving process that every year is going to be different. And as we looked at some of that data, seasons back from the beginning in 1930 have been up and down, and we just come off of a down, and hopefully maybe we're going to go back to an upswing. So thank all you guys coming again. Thank everybody with Xpress Outdoors that's watching this, and I can't encourage you enough to show this to your friends and all the duck hunters that are out there in the Flyway, because it is a bigger picture than just some of the things that are going on. It's a very dynamic situation. It's a big situation. It's continental, as you said earlier. And so appreciate everybody watching, and definitely share this on your social media page.